He grew up in the US.
And so I was stuck in the middle and I hated kind of my identity at that time.
Future globalist.
Yeah.
The world did not have a good image of India.
They still don't, not everywhere. Yeah, I think these creators are capitalizing on the growth of India.
What is CorridorX? Today we have none other than Shivam Desai.
I hit almost every major city in India as a 21-year-old.
What's the difference between India and the US?
That's a loaded question.
One view per person?
Yeah.
That's 1.4 billion.
Exactly. Find your rhythm, hit your stride, and things will fall into place.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the Perspective Lab podcast. Today we have none other than Shivam Desai. He grew up in the US, he built CorridorX, and he's also a content creator. Shivam, thank you so much for coming here. I have to pick your brain today.
Great to be here, Tanmay. Really excited for this. We've been working together on a few things, so great to sit down with you.
Yeah, the first time I met you, I was just like, I'm starting my podcast. I want this guy on it.
Yeah.
Like he's the one, like I can like really relate my thoughts to yours.
Yeah. No, I think we're going to have a great conversation talking about US, India, the relationship. So it's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the chance to know you well, but for someone who doesn't know you, who are you?
That's a loaded question, but
It's like interrogating me.
that's a hard question to answer. I'm a guy that has a global view of the world and think that it's important to understand what's happening in different countries and different regions, and that's kind of been my mentality since high school.
When I first followed you on Instagram, your handle was Future Globalist.
Yeah.
And it seemed like an interesting name.
What do you think about it?
I feel like it's something related to you looking at the future in a global perspective. That's what I could make
Okay.
of the two names.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I close?
Maybe half there,
Okay.
but that word, as I mentioned, I've been thinking about a global life since I was in high school, and I've held that belief since. And so the future part, I already knew I would be global, and so that's where globalist comes from. But the future part is to inspire others or support others that are thinking about a global life, how they can think about it, use me as kind of a roadmap, have someone to kind of look after. To pursue that kind of lifestyle.
Like a side question, what is a global life?
Like, I'm pretty connected to a lot of different countries. I did the Schwarzman Scholars Program in China. I've spent many months and years in India, over 10 years. And so I'm going back to China in April for an alumni reunion for Schwarzman Scholars. I'll maybe go back to India for a few weeks. I'm really interested in the Middle East region. There's a lot happening there in a policy and economic front. And so that's kind of the view I hold, right, about my life and where I want to take it over the long term.
Mm-hmm. And you said something about like your thesis in India.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Yeah, so my original story and my relationship to India was I was quite averse to it. I grew up in a pretty rural town in northern New Jersey. It was on the border of New York State. I was the only Indian in my school. And, my Indian friends would call me a hick, and then, white people and non-Indians would call me the T word. And so I was stuck in the middle, and I hated kind of my identity at that time. But then I go to the University of Michigan, and I'd go to a study immersion across India. And I go to Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. And I was fascinated by what I saw, the development, the growth. I'd been going to India my whole life, but primarily to Gujarat and Mumbai. So it was really cool to see these other cities. And so I went back in 2017. That was when I was a senior at Michigan, and I wanted to do a thesis on the impact of internet access and social media on India because the telecom provider Jio, which is part of Reliance, just launched late 2016. Right. So I wanted to see the impact of that on India from that turned a country that was disconnected, traditional conservative, to being fully connected in the span of a few months or a year. And in that thesis, I went from Amritsar to Chennai, interviewing young Indians across the country at colleges, universities, malls, bars, you name it. And I hit almost every major city in India as a 21-year-old.
That's really crazy because I think of it like, for someone who's born in the US and has like Indian heritage, I meet a lot of people who just don't go to India.
Yeah.
It's not like they hate it, or some do, but most of them are just like so disconnected. But I feel like with you, the globalist view really comes from the fact that you are an American, but you have all your Indian roots with you. Yeah. And beyond that, you've been to China and you've traveled a lot in the world. Yeah. So you've set an example. It's not just like saying, I want to be like a globalist. It's like you've done it.
Doing it in the action. No, I say this all the time. Like, Indians born in the U.S. or maybe even other countries, their relationship to India is influenced by the visits they did to their grandparents' homes, right? And maybe weddings. And so it's a very skewed view of what India actually is. And it was probably in your hometown. And maybe you did a city or a little vacation, right, to Agra, Taj Mahal, or some other places. But that doesn't immerse you into the ecosystems, right? The social networks, the cultural kind of developments that happen there. And so you really need to spend time there, and it's pretty easy to get in because people in India they love when, right, a foreigner comes in, and an Indian from abroad is basically a foreigner in India.
Right.
And so it's very easy to integrate, and people are very receptive to it.
What's the difference between India and the US?
That's also a loaded and difficult question. India right now is such a young country. It's very digitally connected. They're open to new things. It's becoming very westernized. Of course, this is going to vary by socioeconomic class, region of India, but it's really popping off. That's the term I like to use. As is the U.S. The U.S. obviously, and on the culture and social side, right, is always happening. But there's a lot of interesting things happening in India. You're seeing MrBeast go there. The fighter, the brothers, Jake Paul, right?
Yeah.
Launching their energy drink, I think. The guy the black sprinter guy, right? Ashton Hall,
Yeah.
and then some of his copycat guys also all going to India, and they're doing it for a reason. And India's just getting started on that front.
Wow, that's crazy. I also have this question like that. All these creators that are going to India, like 5 years back, 10 years back, the whole narrative was that India is not a good place. And suddenly we have the numbers. So do you think they're just purely going because of the numbers? Like 1.4 billion people, if just one view per person, that's 1.4 billion
exactly
views. And the whole economy, the creator economy is capitalizing on that.
On views, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think
No,
of
it's
that?
a great point. And one important or interesting kind of factor, nuance to make is China is disconnected from the global internet, right? They have their own internal internet and tech ecosystem, so they don't participate in the same internet that the world does. And because India is fully integrated into the US or the global internet system, it is a very large market for global companies, creators, all of these types of institutions. And so, I think these creators are capitalizing on the growth of India, the digitization of India, and it's a young country that is very hungry for that exposure to the Western culture, Western brands, Western companies. And so I think this is just a very natural progression based on where India is heading.
I think it also helps, like, sure, it's in the spirit of capitalism as well, but it's also the fact that they go to India, they are portraying a nice image of India now. The world did not have a good image of India before.
They still don't, not everywhere. You still have the rage bait posts of India about the food, the street food, and right, those troll posts, those are still pretty strong out there.
Yeah, but I feel like it's going to take some time, but it's headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so.
Even if it's in their own personal interest,
that's fine.
It's going to help us as well.
Right, exactly. It's changing the narrative, for India and India's image globally.
Shivam, you went to China for your Schwarzman scholarship. What's the difference that you see between India and China?
Yeah, there's so many fronts you can attack this question on, but on the social and culture side, maybe, I thought they would be quite similar, just given their similar population sizes. But to give you an example, in India, in a large city, if you can go out at any point of day or night, and you'll have people almost everywhere, right? You'll have the stalls, the street food sellers, you'll have people drinking chai, people crowding around, hanging around amongst each other. And I thought I would see the same in China, but when I went there, it was completely the opposite. It's a very structured, clean, organized city, even on busy streets with traffic. You don't hear much honking. And so there's just a greater importance placed on civic sense, potentially. Maybe that has a part to do with the government. But they're just very different societies in terms of how the physical world looks.
Like, if you had to pinpoint why that is, do you have an answer for that?
I'm sure the government may play some role, but East Asian cultures have a very strong order and respect component embedded throughout their operating model, and so because India is so diverse, right? We have so many different types of Indians and languages, and that can cause some friction. But in China, the majority of the country is Han Chinese, and so that might help. Right, the orderliness and kind of the structure of their society.
I think it's more of like a spirit of collaboration that lacks, that India is lacking.
Yeah.
Like
you hear that a lot.
Yeah, and I think I listened to this in Sabir Bhatia's podcast. I don't know which one. And he says that I think the reason India is not the biggest economy in the world is primarily because of this, that Indians don't want to help each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's changing. That's really changing a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a long way to go, but it's I think it's one of the main reasons. Like if someone's crossing the road in India versus someone's crossing the road in the US, there's a whole different array of possibilities.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Lee Kuan Yew, the founder of Singapore, said something similar. The language diversity of India is one of its biggest crutches, and we celebrate it, and it should be.
Right.
But that same diversity is what also causes many different problems that persist to today. Right. The North-South divide. Different Indians. Remaining in their subgroups, right? The segregation we face. And so it's something to be celebrated, but also something to adapt as we move forward.
Yeah, I wish that wasn't the case.
Yeah, but something we can work on, right? And by bringing different groups and conversations together.
Again, being a globalist.
Yeah, I guess. Thanks.
Okay, Shivam, before I get into the amazing company that you've made, you didn't start off with this company. You started off being a content creator. You could have just built that company in silence. Why did you choose to do it publicly as a content creator?
But prior, I was working in New York for 6 years in financial services roles, and then I went to China. But on the content piece, you have to be online. Everyone, almost anyone, if you're a company, a founder, even your own personal brand, because if you're not online, you're not participating in the conversation. That's what I say all the time. Look at your phone and see how many hours you're spending on the phone on average per day. It'll probably be between the 3 to 6 hour mark. You're spending a meaningful portion of your day on the phone. And so if you're not present there, then no one knows you exist. Sure, you have your personal networks, you have your corporate and career networks, but there's a whole massive internet network that is global, and you can capture or you can connect with that scale. And so if you're not online, you're not in the conversation. And it's not just me saying it. AZ16, I follow their newsletter. The last 2 newsletters have been about the importance of content and media. And so this is now becoming the standard message from the biggest institutions. And so for founders especially, that is something that they need to consider. And we've come out with a pretty cool offering with The Theorist, the podcast studio that we're in. If you're interested in making content, The Theorist can support you, and my team in India can finalize and deliver the final edited content for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really solid
It's
studio.
a sweet place, yeah.
Yeah. But coming back to what you were saying, I think it comes down to this one thing, which I don't know where I heard this, but it was like, it said you can either be a producer or you can be a consumer. I think most of us are such big consumers when it comes to content that when you start creating your own content, you become so filtered in terms of what you consume.
I don't consume it in the way I used to. I barely look at people's stories. I'm not really on it because you're spending time making the content, editing it. I do have a team, so it depends, right? Some of that is done out there. But yeah, that is something that your relationship with content will change when you start making. And the biggest point I'll make to everyone who's watching, who's interested in making content, have thought about it for a while, is the concern people have getting into it is other people's perception of what they're going to think. And so I started my content journey on TikTok because TikTok doesn't have your personal network on it, right? TikTok's a bunch of random people.
Right.
And so that made me comfortable posting there. I went to China and I posted on TikTok, but I never shared on Instagram because of that same fear. I was already a year into making content. That is a regret I have today, because if I posted all of my China content on Instagram, I would be much bigger than I am right now. I would have been able to share all of that with an India audience, because India doesn't have TikTok, so they have never seen my China travels.
Right.
And it was that fear of other people's perception about me. But once you break through that, you feel a sense of liberation, and you stop caring about the 50 people in your head that you were worried about what they're going to think about you.
No, I can completely relate to that, because that's what I did with my YouTube. And sure, like YouTube is not as isolated as TikTok.
Yeah.
But what happened when I had to launch this podcast, like this was like very recently, it was my first ever Instagram post related to my YouTube. And I was freaking out.
I'm sure everyone is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now that I'm in my seat, I'm like, bro, no one cares about what you're doing. What if you're thinking about getting into talking about lifestyle or makeup or travel, like no one's gonna care. They're gonna think about it for a minute, and then their life is gonna move on.
And like you will initially start out bad.
Yes,
there's
for
no
sure.
there's no possibility of you. I mean, unless you're some whiz, it's not going to be anything different.
Yeah, exactly.
But eventually, like you get to be as good as you. So.
Yeah, I'm decent. I think I just have some hot takes or.
No, but I feel like I look up to you in that way. Like,
yeah, thank you.
A lot of the things that you've said on your reels and stuff, just purely about content, I can relate to that a lot.
Nice. Maybe I should start making more if that is helpful to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, with all this content, like have you had any like crazy opportunity that came your way?
Yeah, my network is massive now. It's and of course, quantity versus quality is an important question, but people that are relevant to what I'm doing or what I'm interested in become close internet allies, you can say. And then we meet up, right? If I'm visiting a certain city or traveling to where they are. And so because of content, I've become this US India or New York, India startup guy. And so whenever a founder is coming in town or a friend knows a founder coming into New York, right, they're always pinging me. They're like, yeah, you should meet with this founder. And so I get to meet with some really interesting people, founders like that, investors, business people, right? Because you start building this ecosystem around you. And so, yeah, the upside is just incredible with the access you can get through content.
I mean, exactly. You put a story once saying that you need volunteers.
Yeah.
And that's
right.
That's how I reached out to you.
Yeah, for sure.
And like ever since I came to that event of yours, I've had the chance to meet other people.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like if you wouldn't have been posting that content, you wouldn't have gotten that opportunity to have that event.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff would not have happened before that.
No, it absolutely accelerates growth and whatever agenda you may have or whatever goals you may have. It is absolutely a hack in today's world.
It's all about marketing yourself.
Yeah, and distribution and access to people and communities.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's different about how Americans consume your content versus Indians?
I think in India you have a spectrum of how people engage with your content, and so on one side you have a very like supportive and encouraging side, right? And I love them, right? They're always supporting me, and they're like, yeah, thank you for saying what you're saying and doing what you do. But then if I say something that could be a little bit, that has some controversy behind it or, may be perceived differently by different groups, right. Then that can get called out very strongly. And Indians are not afraid or shy to do that. And you see that, right? When you see the troll videos about India, right. painting India in a negative light, you see the India crowd like coming in hard, right? Tearing apart the guy the person who made the video, and so yeah, you have the spectrum, and it's great because you get both sides, and it's a very active audience too, right? India is a very active social country.
Would you say like if you have any criticism about India, you just get like attacked by any like?
Oh yeah, people will troll you or put messages on the video, message you, DM you. Oh yeah, for sure.
But I don't see the point of them doing that. Like, why would they do something like that? Like, as a personal thing, if they want to grow, you're not pointing out stuff that is like wrong.
Yeah.
You're just telling them like if it's as basic, like just as an example, if India requires like a little bit of civic sense in terms of cleanliness and all of that, you say something like that. Then some Indians are going to come attack you saying that, not all places in India are like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you talk about something, you're referring to like 80% of the stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
You're not talking about exceptions.
No, there's a sense of pride, there's nationalism, right? And that has been a function of the government in one respect. And so, yeah, there's a very strong sense of pride and nationalism and pro-India kind of mentality that is pretty pervasive across the country.
But it is constructive criticism.
Yeah. But some people don't like, hearing the truth can hurt. And
that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Like I also did this video recently, which was like, it was called "Do Americans Hate Indians?"
How did that do?
It was interesting, the response, because like the first thing that people told me was, why would they even admit to it on camera? Which is a fair point. They ideally wouldn't. I did go and talk to people in the city, and I asked them questions. Would you date an Indian? And one of the responses was that ideally that person would not want to date. He was a white male. And
yeah, sure.
He said he didn't want to. And I asked him the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
He said, for centuries, it's been the case where I would want my kids to look like me.
Mm-hmm.
I would want them to have the traditions and the cultural relatability that I have.
Yeah, of course.
And I just thought that before I even could say it, he said that, isn't that the same way in India? Don't you guys do, like, marriages are done within castes, marriages are done within similar cultures?
Yeah, of course. And that carries forward into the U.S., right? Like, even in the U.S., Indians marry right within their sub-ethnic groups, right? I would say that's a large portion of marriages. You marry into the same group of, or the type of Indian that you are. And so that's changing now, right? And now people are marrying in other races. I have lots of family members that are married to non-Indians, and that's very normal now. But yeah, that persists in our culture as well. So why is it, anything different when another culture prefers to marry into that same race as well, right?
What I think is that why are they confusing that with hate? That's just a preference.
Yeah, that's a preference, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think, that's just one example, right? But there is definitely anti-Indian rhetoric and hate out there. And you're seeing brands, right, like that whole dupatta scandal. I forget the company. They were using, it was a Swedish company or whatever, US company, using a dupatta-looking fit or piece on a Western woman, and not kind of giving it the acknowledgement or recognition that this was inspired by the Indian dupatta, right, or the South Asian dupatta. And so there have been many instances like that Western companies are taking from Indian culture and inspiration, but not giving any credit where it's due.
Right. I mean, as long as our culture is being propagated, I'm happy. And credit needs to be given.
Yeah, credit's got to be given. I think that's the bigger point.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Shivam.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next thing and the most important thing for me.
Yeah, for sure.
What is CorridorX?
Yeah, so CorridorX is a venture platform. One part, we have a very strong network of tech providers in India. I spent 4 months there meeting with solid tech companies that deliver teams, build world-class technology for global companies and startups. And so we deliver very sophisticated technical pods of AI, ML, data engineering, product to US-based companies in 3 to 4 weeks. And so we put on a technical advisor overseeing that team. It's white glove, very hand-holding. So when the team does to come together, we ensure they integrate operationally, culturally, and technologically. And then second part, we are this ecosystem builder, and we are very focused on the New York, India venture corridor. It is not as developed as San Francisco, and we want to ensure we build a robust network for founders that are coming in and out, investors operating in the corridor, and we also partner with some of the other communities. So we have plans with working with the African tech ecosystem, the Latin American tech ecosystem, and so we want to really build this robust India plus global venture ecosystem here in New York.
That's really interesting, but I had just one question in my mind. How is that different from a consultancy?
Yeah, so consultancy, outsourcing, right? You're getting bodies, you're getting tech workers in various countries, and you have to figure out the rest. And so our biggest differentiator is we're able to build you a team, have them in an office, really create a true extension of your company in India and get you access to world-class talent. We primarily operate out of Bangalore, and these are people and talent that have worked for global or US companies in the past. And so they have that product-first mentality, which is required when you're building a fast, high-growth startup. You can't just bring on any tech worker, even if they're technical, they have the skill sets, they also have to have the thinking, and that is what we specialize in.
That's actually quite interesting because you could be very sound technically, but in an American society, you definitely need to communicate well.
The context, the cultural norms, how to think about problems, like that comes from having worked in product first environments.
Yeah.
So that product first mindset is extremely important, especially when working with US companies. You can't have someone from a service backed or consultancy background because they're just not going to be able to think and work at the levels that a US startup, a fast growth startup is going to be looking for.
Yeah, and it really looks like it's an untapped market, and you've gone for the most important thing that it is the corridor. It is bridging that gap primarily. And the fact that you have a team running in 3 to 4 weeks, that doesn't really happen often.
No, we've delivered for YC companies. We focus on pre-seed to Series A. We've had great responses, over 80% success rates and renewals. And the best part is you're able to scale that team. So as you fundraise, as you're building out your product roadmap, if you have 3 to 4 people on the pod today, we can take you to 5, 7, 10 in a matter of a month. So, in 3 to 4 weeks, we can get you up to the level you need based on where your company is heading.
And that's like really important for like companies in the US. They want scalability quick. They want like talent to be able to communicate well.
Trusted partner.
Yeah. And that's good. Like I think that's very untapped, and you've like really gone for the kill. It is the corridor.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so we're trying our best. We're going out to SF soon for Tech Week, and yeah, the response has been pretty good from the founders we're talking to.
I want to see where this goes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what's the hardest misunderstanding between US founders and Indian talent?
There's a few, right? Immediate ones are the time zone differences, the cultural differences, language barriers, social barriers. And so, of course, these are vastly different countries and they have very different norms. And so we help solve this by doing monthly coaching calls with our team, right? Kind of sharing, giving them a layout of the US geographically, giving them an understanding of West versus East Coast, South, Midwest, the different sports teams, the weathers, right? What's really going on in these markets? And I've spent time, I went to Michigan for university, I've worked in SF for a little bit, New York, and I've traveled around the US pretty well. So I have a good sense of like the cultural differences. And so for an Indian, whether you're an employee or founder, you need to understand the US from that social and interpersonal level, because if you're a founder selling into the US and you're talking to someone in Texas, that's a very different conversation than someone in the Midwest or someone in the East Coast, right? Yeah. And being able to understand a person's background, maybe where they're from, where they went to university, recent news that's happened in the region or where they're from, it goes a long way to build that rapport with them and trust.
Yeah, but that's really good. And what's next for CorridorX? What do you see? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, so we just started a few months ago, but as we build the business and the ecosystem, naturally this could develop into a fund. We're becoming a node or a hub for these cross-border founders, and if we can bring a lot of value to both the US side and India side, we get access to very interesting deal flow, and we're able to connect US capital to investment opportunities in India. I think a fund or an investment vehicle could be, in the line of sight in the next few years. It's something that I'm already in conversations on, but not something I'm fully investing in at this point.
No, but that's great. I feel like that's like a really good direction that the company is headed in.
Yeah.
And I feel like 5 years is like too long.
Too long, yeah. That's a long
I feel like you'll do it like in 2. And we can have another podcast where we discuss about the progress of the company.
We can have more podcasts and make more content.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah.
All right, Shivam, that was amazing. It was really good knowing your company and your content and your experiences in life, whether it's in India, US, China, or anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, man, that was super fun. I really enjoyed the podcast. I want to do more of these and, keep me updated. But how long, what time are we at?
I don't know. I just forgot about the time, man. It was an interesting conversation.
It went well. It went smooth. One of my first ones. So, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course,
man. Yeah, man. Great conversation.
I'm not going to let you leave because I want this one thing from you.
Okay.
Is that if you had to give one advice or multiple advices, but just like one particular advice to someone who's watching, what would it be?
Yeah, I just got this quote that I say all the time. Find your rhythm, hit your stride, and things will fall into place.
All right. That's something we all live by.
Yeah.
We should live by.
Yeah. No, put it into your mentality. It might work.
Yeah. Thank you, Shivam.
Yeah. Thanks again, bro.
I'll see you around.
Loved it.